Hi guys, today is October the 11th in New Zealand and I thought it was about time for another Psi Cards or Earth Predictions reading. Now today I'm going to shuffle the cards. These are the back side of the Psi Cards. These are what we're used to seeing, the other side. I'm going to shuffle them while I'm talking here and then see what cards turn up for the reading. I probably will at that stage have to stop the video and then just go away and think about the exact meanings of each card before I complete the video, but you won't notice that as an effect. It'll just run on smoothly anyhow. So here we are. One more. Okay, so the first card, I haven't had a look at these, I don't know what's going to turn up. The first card is Union. Okay, I get that for the Earth predictions readings as lots of water and water falling, mudslides, avalanches, rapid moving water that comes together to make a really big event. Falling water, the stars. Maybe we have more planetary alignment issues again. You can see all these really interesting arrows and lines connecting dots. So we could be talking about phases of particular planetary movements. Some of the more well-known star patterns that could be coming into question, but definitely something to do with the stars, the heavens, things coming from above, meteorites, activity to do with space announcements, things coming from the sky, falling down. What's our third one? We're getting quite a few different ones this week that we wouldn't normally get. The cave. Well, that's someone there hiding and hunkering down. They're sheltering themselves, literally. They're cowered over and they're in a very dark black cave. I don't even know that this one has come out in the readings yet, so I'm really going to have to do a little bit of thinking upon what the meaning of this one will be. Definitely people sheltering, taking shelter from something. And whether it's weather related or war related, I'm not sure. There we are. That might answer that. I wondered. The warrior. Wonderful. Well, of course, he hasn't really gone away all year. We see those energies. The whole year has just been a warring year. In fact, he was in the very beginning of my 2012 Earth predictions or 2012 prediction video. He was the first card that got pulled, which was going to indicate a very turbulent, war energy fueled year, and it certainly is. And we also note that we talk about it's the older part of the globe up through the Middle Eastern blocks, the Afghanistan area, the European area, and we get a feeling of water or some sort of storm rushing in around here too. So we've got 2 or 3 cards that are definitely indicating the presence of quick, really strong forming water falls or floods, avalanches, sandstorms, something that's really quickly, rapidly moving. And the last one, wow, got him back again. We've had him for I think the last 2 readings. So we talk about marine animals being affected, the moon, again, does it have any issues coming up with it? Definitely. We talk about planets again, and interestingly enough we had the star card that went with it. I've mentioned the sea in this one, water issues, and the Tropic of Cancer area, which can relate to quakes around that area or other just strange events that are occurring in and around the Tropic of Cancer. So there we are, guys. I will do a little bit more in depth to do with that cave card, the one that I'm unsure of there, the cave, and a little bit more thinking about the stars. But that's our reading. going to go back over last week's cards and go through a little bit the events that actually turned out for those. And as much as I try to be aware of events that may be indicated by the cards, realistically I'm not a Wikipedia or an almanac, so there are always going to be areas of activity that my radar isn't actually aware of. And one of the classics last week was the huge Chinese celebrations of their National Day. Now, until one of my work colleagues who's Chinese mentioned it to me, I was completely unaware of that ginormous celebration that would have affected billions of people on the globe, which I believe the libido card pulled up. So just referring to my notes here, if we go back for the cards that turned up, the sun was one of the first ones, and I mentioned electrical outages, solar flares, increased quakes. On the 10th of October, yesterday, we had an M2 flare that was Earth directed, and on the 28th of September we had an Earth directed flare. Sorry, yesterday's M2 flare wasn't necessarily Earth directed. The festival was picked, the big Chinese festival I mentioned about, which affected billions of people, was definitely picked up in the sun card, which depicts the Mayflower and the pole and the children, and the libido cards. Both of those cards pick up that high vibrational energy of enthusiastic fun and happy entertainment. They also had their moon festival that same day. Well, they had their moon festival on the 30th of September and the China National Day celebrations on the 1st of October, respectively. Sadly, they had a very tragic ferry incident in the Hong Kong harbour that I think claimed 38 lives on the night that they were all going out to watch the fireworks, and that created one of the mass compassion events that the libido card also talks about. So that was a bittersweet irony for that card. In the very same breath, it was giving a celebration event, and it also took a mass compassion event in the same activity, which is rather unusual. Referring next to the moon card, which I talked about planet lineups and sea issues, Tropic of Cancer issues, marine animals being affected, we had a lot of sea-related quakes. We had some 6.3 off the Indonesia coast on October the 9th. We had a 6.0 in the Solomon Islands on the 27th of September. We had a 6.5 off the Gulf of California on the 25th of September, a 6.9 in Alaska, a 6.2 off Honshu in Japan, another 6.0 in the Gulf of California, which is in the Tropic of Cancer. So it was a pretty busy time for sea-related quakes, which I think the moon card picked up. We also had a lot of planet lineups. We had Mercury opposed Jupiter on October the 4th, Mars opposed Venus on October the 5th, Venus opposed Neptune on October the 3rd, Mercury co-joined Saturn on October the 5th. We did have some marine animals issues. We had, really, this is totally bizarre, oysters, crabs and fish were rained down on Russian Bay locals in the town of Lazurania in September the 25th. That was completely bizarre. Then we had a mass whale die-off. There were 44 whales beached in the Philippines, and then sadly most of us on the globe feel this way. The locals hacked into the carcasses to utilise the whale meat. That's their tradition. It's no longer that tradition for most of the people around the globe, so that wasn't seen as a particularly pleasant event. And at the same time, regards the beast card, which we say animals are affected, a rare Sumatran tiger died on an airline flight in Indonesia, which was also a very sad event. It seemed he had suffered great stress in his cage. Re the volcanoes, when I talk about the beast card, there's so many to list that it's too hard to keep a watch on that activity. But if you're interested in volcanic activity, a really good channel to follow is Suspicious Observer's YouTube channel. He regularly updates the volcanic activity in his 2-minute news every day, and that's actually quite worth following. Re the message card, the North Korea gave rather an unpleasant little message for us on October the 2nd, saying nuclear war is only a spark away. That's their opinion, so let's hope that doesn't keep up. In regards the mass events from the libido card, this time they were seemingly mass events that affected countries as opposed to globally. Although they did affect us all globally, they seem to have a bigger impact on individual countries as well. For instance, there was the murder of an Australian lady, and that really, she was walking home on her own innocently one night after being out, and that took Australia by storm. There's the missing 5-year-old girl from England, April Jones, and that's been a very big issue for England, and they'll compassionately for a lot of the globe as well, and it would now appear that she may be murdered. There was the Hong Kong ferry tragedy, there was a mass shooting in the USA, there was the 5 Taiwanese tourists dead in the Vietnam boat crash. So we had a lot of mass events. There was another very unpleasant one where there were 26 lives in a student massacre in Nigeria, and there were 18 children dead in China in a landslide, and they were buried at the school. So definitely we had all the cards related with quite strong events that took place, and each one of them had quite a few number of events that took place. So that's relating to last week's events. Now just going back to the cards for this week, the Union card, I mentioned water. We see rushing water, falling water, rapid, coming from the sky, coming down, so storms from the sky, perhaps cyclonic in nature. I also look at these rocks and I'm thinking, gosh, look at those big rocks and they're moving. So it's definitely getting the feeling of landslides or movement of earth. And the cave. I haven't really spent too much more time thinking on it, but again I'm thinking underground movement. So could that be earthquake related movement, or something to do with inner earth, hidden caves, those sinkholes that are happening? Could it be something to do with one of the big, you've got a huge sinkhole in America that's going on at the moment, with the potential of the explosive activity or the nature of the gases involved in there. Could it be something to do with that? Definitely people hunkering down, hiding, almost as if they are going right in to get out of storms or something. In the stars, I did get the feeling of planes, so something to do with plane movement as well. So something about not just planets and asteroids and meteorites and comets and planet lineups, but also to do with things in the sky that we put there, whether satellites or telescopes or planes. So those type of messages. Well, that's it really, guys, for this week. Pretty much the messages remain the same. I can't change them. I'm not the person who changes the messages. I don't make them up. The cards sort of just deliver the general vibration of the energies around the earth at the moment. We are in pretty aggressive mode. There's not a lot of peace and compassion out there. We seem pretty ego-fueled with all our own agendas, ideas, warring, wanting to take over other people's countries, doctrinations, everything else. So that's the energies, and they just seem to keep popping on up, as one would expect. So hey, be safe, have a good week everyone, and keep your eyes wide open. That's what I say. It's a good way to be. Take care. Thanks for watching.